Yes, you may.
When I come in to the high school,
Yep.
those front panels under the windows and stuff, all the paint's peeling off it, is that just normal maintenance? That doesn't appear in capital, that just,
Yes, normal, we did paint most of the school, we didn't do the front of the school about 2 years ago, so that would just be a maintenance
but that would
thing
just
we'd
be,
have
that
to-
wouldn't appear in a capital budget.
No, it occasionally it does if we did the whole thing, but when they're, even just the front of the school, we could just do that as a maintenance project during the summer or something.
Okay. All right. Moving on to Midgeon, you have 30,000 for Midgeon.
Yeah. That's a replacement vehicle for the director of facilities.
You want a new car?
He's not getting his garage,
Current car that we're using is the Envoy. It's about 100 and, somewhere around 110,000 miles. It's a 2001, getting on in years.
I did that one.
Beginning to, according to the city's fleet manager, he wanted to take it off the road this year because of the rust underneath the frame. He's a little bit concerned about it. So, just, the outside looks fine, it really does. Try to keep it up, but the salt
Waiting for
is,
somebody to say something about the salt.
it's the salt, it's the underneath, it's just rotting it away.
It's not salt, it's liquid car dissolvent.
That's exactly what it is, you're right. You can't keep it off.
Oh, you were gonna say something?
Just thinking, I know when that Mercury fleet vehicle replacement plan was devised, I know that we participated in it back in the day, we being the Board of Education. And the Board of Education is no longer in that. And I'm just wondering if that's something we should revisit. You know, so that there is a planful contribution to vehicle replacement and that you're not faced with a significant bump every year, or every time you replace a vehicle. Something just to think about. I mean, not that it's gonna impact the decision here tonight on this, but.
Yes, Andy.
I'd like you to get by with one more year, so I'd like to move that. Unless you're having maintenance problems now. I mean, is it anything other than the rust underneath?
No, this is a frame, you know, when
I
the
mean-
frame goes, it goes. It's a-
And I think we have to keep in mind, he drives around at 4 o'clock in the morning to check the road conditions for the houses. So I really don't think we should keep him out there in a rusted frame truck, checking the roads up for you.
Breaks down out of school.
All I'm saying is,
Once again, this is a recommendation from the fleet manager that maintains that vehicle.
And I would ask, I mean, obviously, when your annual maintenance becomes cost prohibitive.
Right.
You know, now you're throwing good money after bad.
Right.
You know, so I think that that's the other thing that, and usually Emil will actually weigh that before he makes a recommendation.
Yeah,
for replacement.
yeah, and that was, once again, that was Emil's recommendation.
What are we proposing the replacement vehicle to actually be? Another Envoy or?
Probably some four-wheel drive vehicle. In fact, when we bought that Envoy, it wasn't even new. We bought that used. And it may be another used truck or something like that. Something four-wheel drive that's safe and heavy enough in case anyone else uses it on the board besides myself, you know, it would have to be semi-comfortable.
how about a compromise of 25,000?
Hey, it's not somebody else, we care about you too.
I'm not,
No, I mean, saying that, I know car dealerships like to make deals with the school district and the city of Torrington, so maybe 25,000.
My Jeep's for sale.
Totally up to you. Doesn't have to be new.
It's not.
Go ahead.
Right, the motion on the floor was from Andrew to move it to next year.
Okay,
Do
let's
we have
do
a
it.
second for that? Okay,
Can I make another motion?
what's yours?
Okay, I'd like to make another motion that, being that the first one failed, that we allocate 25,000 and see if we can, that seems like you can get something new for 25. I think you can get something pretty nice for 25, four-wheel, new.
Sell you mine for 10.
We we get a second for that?
No.
0 for 2, Andrew, you wanna go for a third one?
No, I'll stick with you guys on this one.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So, I'm sorry? Well, we could, well, we're not changing it, so this was already approved. We're looking for changes or Dave gets a new car, hopefully.
Hopefully.
All right, so Southeast School. You heard the proposal.
Oh, nothing.
This is an addition, so we have to vote to add this to our capital plan. We need a motion from Andrew,
I make a motion to add this amount for capital.
second by Chris. Jeremy.
It doesn't matter.
Jeremy. Any discussion, other than the discussion we've already had? All those in favor? Opposed?
Yes.
Technology. This is a change from the original, because we moved the 323,280 from operating to capital. We have an explanation of what is in that, but,
Yeah, we gave it. We gave it up.
okay.
Make a motion.
Second motion to approve it, second by Chris. Any discussion? Yes.
Is there any reimbursement on this technology? It's all out of pocket?
Yeah.
I don't know anything else, just wonder if there was some reimbursement.
I'd actually like to, based on the fact that we're gonna end up somewhere around 7.5%, I would like to make a motion to not add the additional technology this year and move it up. I would like to make that my thought on it. Because with our capital where we currently are, we're gonna come in well over 7. Got it. So we gotta be approaching the original budget amount?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I just don't see that flying with the city.
You want a second on that?
Well, we moved East School never got added into our proposals. When we got our budget, it didn't count East School. It was, see, the 71 was there, but we only had $1.6 million on our budget sheets. The 71 million didn't count.
So could you say that again?
When we got our
No, no, no,
original
no,
cap.
what you're suggesting.
Well, I'm just saying, in the discussion portion here, I'd like to see the capital, the computers that we took out of operating, I'd like to see if those could be pushed a year. Because we're coming in right now close to 10% of a total budget. And it's just no way that's gonna fly. I mean, just being reasonable, I don't see them supporting that. But that's just my discussion.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Well, we have a motion on the floor to approve the 742,578. So we'll have to vote on that.
As far as the moving of computers go, it's $150,000 in actual hardware on computers that would be moved forward, is what you're referring to. It isn't the $323,280 that you're looking at, just so you know.
What else did that include?
That also included additional access points, it included additional wiring systems, it included additional servers.
And I'm looking
So-
to move it. I'm not looking to move anything, I'm looking to move $323,280. However, they choose to spend $419,298 is entirely up to the district, to the administration and technology.
Okay, just so everybody on the board is aware that there will be an impact then to the technology plan as it's been rolled out this year with next year. So you will see a basic freeze where we are as at the end of this school year in next year's technology. So there will not be a
There's
The addition-
419,000 of additional technology already in the capital plan.
That was the technology that was planned for prior to the decision to roll everything out in a Wi-Fi system. That decision to switch everything to Wi-Fi made additional costs. If it had stayed hardwired, the cost for the devices would have been less, the infrastructure required to support them would have been less, and the servers required to support them would have been less. Because of that, if we push this out, there will be an impact. You will still be able to function, and you will still have some improvements, but there will only be the hardwired improvements. Basically, the 13 cards and the systems to support the additional 13 cards will have to be put off for the following year. Because, again, the technology grant is only going to support a certain percentage. Originally, the thought was you could get 13 cards with it. What has been found out is because several of our buildings are concrete reinforced buildings, such as Vogel Moore, it's extremely difficult to get somebody to try to drill through those to run the wiring required to put the APs in for the wireless systems.
How long do you drill? I got lots of them. They all go through reinforced concrete.
So there will be a cart reduction over what was originally thought.
Well, yeah,
So,
there'll be
just, again, this is
half of what
simply,
we're looking at buying would be pushed to another year.
correct.
Cheryl, can
So-
you deal with this for your?
I'll live with it.
Well,
For getting buildings. I mean, my concern, and, you know, we're not sure how it's gonna go this year, but historically, the city cuts us some random amount that really doesn't mean. So I would prefer to go in with what we really think we need and want, and when we get our cut, then we'll decide where we're gonna cut it.
well, we're voting on your motion. Mine was just for discussion.
What was his motion? Oh, that was,
The owner's motion was to approve the $742,578. Chris seconded it. We're just in the discussion phase right now.
okay, I'm gonna vote against, and then hopefully we will, as a board, vote against it, and then I would like to make a motion to do what the chairman recommended.
So,
Those-
I'm just trying to understand. The 742,578,
Yep.
you're saying, your feeling is that's not gonna fly.
My feeling is, we're at 3.62% without Southeast School. You add in the $2.9 million that, no, $1.9 million, that's gonna add to this budget, that's gonna push us up to like 7%. And the city's gonna have a coronary at 7%.
So you're saying you wanna reduce it by the 7,
I'm just looking at, we gotta find a way to move something. If we're gonna try to add $1.8 million for the school into this budget in capital, we need to move something out.
You-
We just moved the driveway in,
Yeah.
so we got 128,000 in for the driveway. Now, you know, something's gotta go.
You know, the city really needs to know what this board has done in the last couple of months for the total 5-year capital improvement plan that we originally projected and what we're now offering. And that is $35 million in reduction over 5 years. That's a tremendous thing this board has done, as far as, like, goes to the superintendent and to the board, that they've been thoughtful, and we gotta move forward. And by doing what we're doing this year, it's gonna save the city a lot of money over the next 5 years. So I agree with what you're saying as far as reducing this line item, but we should also, the mayor's been here, she hears everything that we've done, and the city needs to know that these,
And I respect what you're saying, except for 35 million is a number that you were just factoring in for this very expensive e-school renovation. It's not like you cut $35 million out of capital expenses. That $35 million came off of a proposed $72 million e-school renovation project. So I hear what you're saying. I agree with the chair. I don't recommend you advance a budget that's over 7%. I just think, here again, you really want to advance a program. You really want to see this all-day kindergarten program go forward. I think that's where you really have to concentrate your focus here.
Right,
So, to the extent that, and I don't know, the randomness of the number that the Board of Finance, throws. I think what they try to do is they try to get to a number that they feel the taxpayers can afford. So that's where that final cut comes. I always advocate for, make the cuts that you think you can live with at this level instead of being forced to choke on the cuts that another board gives you.
well,
So-
I mean, again.
And I'm hearing you, because you're proposing to make that cut.
Right.
I hear what you're saying.
Will this impact, Dan, the testing that we need to do if we don't get this Wi-Fi in the?
Well, the problem becomes with the way it's done. The Wi-Fi for these buildings is supposed to be done under a grant, which requires management services. That has to be done by June 30th of this year. If it doesn't get done by June 30th, we have to give the money back. So getting the infrastructure for it, it will be in place for what's currently within our systems. Going into next year, what this will do is this will impact how many devices are available. What they've done this year is the SPED laptops that were purchased with the $400,000 grant in the fall that we received are what they've been handing out to do the SBAC testing thus far. Is they've been using those SPED laptops in combination with our regular desktop systems, as well as the Google Desktop Chrome netbooks that were purchased last year. So they are, thus far in 2 weeks of testing, they haven't had a single failure that's been anything to do with us, which, knock on wood, has worked out very well for us. But when you look forward, just be aware of the fact that with the cut, you will have to, again, move those laptops from SPEC into the regular classrooms. If we're creating a specialty building for needs and
I need a motion to extend the meeting beyond 10 o'clock.
5 minutes?
You're not gonna be done in 5 minutes. You're gonna need a half an hour at this point.
So moved.
Second? Discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? One opposed. I'm sorry, finish.
assuming that you have to move, let's say, 5 carts over to Southeast School, that means during the testing period, you'll need to move those carts back to the regular buildings, because you need the laptops for the testing. So it is a significant difference in how it's going to be rolled out next year. Can it be done? Yes, it can. Will it require a great deal more planning? Yes. So is it functional for the $300,000 savings at this point to look at the cut, knowing the fact the city's going to cut us already? If it was one of those things where, Eleanor, I hate to put you on the spot, but if we got to a budget, Eleanor felt comfortable, and she said, okay, I can present this to the Board of Finance, and I'm confident it'll move forward. Then I can sit down and say, yes, we'll take the hard cut this year, we'll push it off, we'll struggle through next year, and we'll deal with it the following year. Not knowing what the final cut is going to be from the city, not knowing where we're going to have to scrimp our pennies, I am not 100% confident in this going forward. But, again, I'm one vote out of 9 of us currently here.
Okay.
Okay, what's on the
Just
table
moved it to
again?
a vote. All those in favor of approving the 742,578 for capital, for technology in capital? All those opposed to it? Okay, now we need another motion.
I make a motion that we go forward with Chairman Traub's recommendation for
Second.
technology. Whatever
Second
that
by
exact
Chris.
number was.
Too many numbers.
Yeah, what was the exact number?
323,288
being moved to next year.
Okay, that's my motion.
All right, did you get that, Deb? Andrew's motion is to move $323,280 in technology to the 15-16 year. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Now I gotta change my number. So the technology goes back to 419,298.
Okay.
It's for you to do whatever you need to do once given that amount of money, whatever that final amount of money ends up being. So that moves us, if you have that, Daniel, to a capital of $2,946,928.
It,
To,
now Ken, that's the net.
that's the net.
Okay, so we're going off net total, because then that won't be, because if we don't, we're at a 9.31% increase. If we go net, it's 5.07.
Well, you want
Gross to gross.
gross to gross, right?
But I'll put it in the
Yeah, show the
revenue
grants,
page.
and show the grants in the revenue page, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so it would be a,
You're still gonna show a 9% increase,
right,
but the Board of Finance understands the revenue piece, so.
So our capital expense is 5882666, right?
yeah.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
5,882,666. That's a bad number, .00.
And I'd just like, while you're while you're doing that, I'd just like to make a comment that you have to look at the history of our capital spending over the last 6-7 years. We're just starting to put money into capital, which we haven't, probably going back to when you were on the Board of Ed. We haven't really spent a lot on capital for a long time. So at some point, it has to be done, so.
Part of this capital is the 4,300,000. You know, that's where you have to get the buy-in. You know,
Right.
I don't know, I honestly have not had any conversations with the Board of Finance as what their feeling is about advancing, you know, that particular expenditure. I'm encouraged that the superintendent is looking at other grant opportunities, and if there's an opportunity for 100% financing or grant funding, yeah, that's great, and we will work with the board to do that.
Right.
Right now, though, what we're advancing is, we have to go with the numbers that we know, the hard numbers that we know, and that's the gross number. This is a very high budget to present, so that's, I think, the only.
But all I'm trying to say is a lot of the increase is capital driven, which the board of, few meetings that I attended at the Board of Finance, they were continuously pressing the Board of Ed to make sure we were spending the appropriate amount on capital. So
And to that point, I know that the board, a couple of Board of Finance members did specifically state that what they'd like to do is actually review the Board of Education's budget separately, operating budget separate from capital.
Right.
It's not the way it's decided, I mean, whatever the cuts are gets,
Right.
it's a bottom line, we can only do the bottom line, we can't
Right.
dictate to the board. But you're right, that's always the message the Board of Finance gives to the board. They prefer to see, that, and I prefer to see, as all of you prefer to see, your capital being preserved. You know, you're absolutely right, this is an aging infrastructure. We have the same problem on the city side, and we have aging infrastructure, and if we continue to chip away at these,
No, you're
pay
looking
a
at
much
80
larger
million
price
on-
later on. Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm sorry, what is the amount you're advancing?
We're not advancing anything yet.
Okay.
We have to vote on it. All right, our total number then in our book. Well, before we do that, does anybody have any further discussion or cuts that they would like to propose, capital or operating? Or are we happy with where we're at?
I just would like to ask one question. As far as this year's, say we get this budget approved and we go forward with it, next year, will this capital affect the minimal amount that we have to spend next year? Being that we've inflated our net, what I'm asking is, there's a state law that talks about you can't ever reduce
Yeah.
what,
But that's just operating.
is that operating? Okay, so the okay, just wanted to make sure the capital wasn't going to permanently put us $4 million next year as well, okay.
Any other discussion from anyone? Everyone's happy? Or content? Everybody just wants to go home? Let's talk about it. It puts our operating budget $69,791,797, right? We rounded that 88 cents, huh? It puts our capital at $5,882,666 for a total budget of $75,674,463. That's a difference over last year of $6,445,688. A percentage increase of 9.31. Can I get a motion to send that to the city?
So moved.
By Chris, second by Andrew. Any discussion on that number?
Just, I mean, I think
We need that
when you're not
capital.
offsetting what the revenue for that capital is gonna be, it's kind of
Yes.
an inflated assumption, for getting 70% of that back.
And just for the record, with the anticipated revenue, what did that bring it down to?
5.07.
5.07 with the,
Anticipated
Operating
revenue.
and-
And that
Right.
anticipated reimbursement was only 65%.
And that's with another group,
And all they can
and all the
You know, they
kindergarten.
can-
And also, by getting that
Paul, you
center,
had-
you have much better chance of getting future funding.
Paul, you had something? You had something?
On the city side about the block.
All those in favor with this budget? Opposed? Opposed? All right, a motion to adjourn? First by Ellen, second by Paul. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? You can vote when you want to adjourn.
We're going to adjourn. There's enough votes without them.
Well, minus one vote on adjournment.
We are unanimous.
Can you vote present here?